And I'm live. Woohoo! This is Math 40, Elementary Algebra. We're in Chapter 9, 9.1. We're going to use something called the square root property to solve quadratic equations. So you'll remember that a quadratic equation looks like this. So we're looking at solving equations that have an x squared in them. And the way we're going to do this is we're going to approach this with square roots, which is really convenient that we just looked at how to simplify square roots. So it's all just like this is the circle of life. I can hear Elton John singing right now. Okay, so rather than tell you what the heck we're going to do, I'm going to show you what the heck we're going to do. So first one, I've got x squared equals 9. Now, honestly, if I told you that I had a secret number, and I wouldn't tell you what the number was, but I could tell you that the square of the number was 9, would you know what number I was talking about? Probably, possibly. You might think I was talking about 3. Right? You might end up thinking, okay, I take the square root of both sides, x equals 3. There we go. The problem with this is that's not the only answer. There is another answer. We could also have -3, because if you think about it, when you square 3, you get 9. When you square -3, you also get 9. The problem is once we start using square roots like this or radicals, we only get the positive. So how do we get the negative? Well, here's the trick. What we're going to do is we're just going to slip in a little plus or minus right there to remind ourselves to look both at the positive and the negative possibilities. So again, we're going to take the square root of both sides, stick in a plus or minus. Woohoo! Okay, yeah, this is going to be the most awesome section. And then, of course, right when I said that, dun dun dun. So if I have x squared plus 9 equals 0, what I'm going to need to do first thing is get the x squared isolated. So I'm going to subtract 9 from both sides. Okay, easy peasy, right? You're all like, okay, fine, fine, fine. I got x squared. I got -9. So now what do? I put the square root around it. Square root around x squared. Square root around -9. I even remember the plus or minus. That's so very important. Plus or minus. But then, oh no. Oh no, what happened? There's a negative inside the square root. This answer is not real. Now, if you would like, you could also say it's undefined. Technically speaking, that would be a lie. It is defined, but it's defined to be a number that we haven't studied yet. So you're allowed to say it's undefined, or you can just say it's not real, in which case you're absolutely correct. So this is kind of the fancier version of undefined. You're being more specific. The real answer is that it's 3i. And you can always stick with me. I will tell you the answers. Any answers you want to know, I'll just tell them to you. Okay, next up. Okay, enough with those not real shenanigans. We're going to come to this next one, which is a very exciting problem. It's not just x squared, it's x minus 4, the quantity squared. And what's important is everything is squared over on the left side. So we can do what I'm about to do. We're going to take the whole giant square root of the whole left side. If we do that, we have to take the whole giant square root of the right side. And I can hear you saying it. But wait, you're going to forget. Don't forget it. And I'm going to say, you know what? I'm not forgetting it. I was just getting my, handy dandy highlighter. Plus or minus. Bam. Just like that. So let's look what happens over here. Over here, I get now the square root and the square Let me see if I can do this. Oh, you know what? Let me use green. Green didn't smear as much. Let's try green. So the square root and the square undo each other. It's like they cancel each other out, except you can't really say it like that. So if I were like a real teacher, I wouldn't say they cancel each other out, but what the heck? I'm going to say they kind of cancel each other out. And so all you get over here is x minus 4. And then over here, you get plus or minus, and square root of 3. Oh, I gave away the answer. Square root of 9 or radical 9 is 3. You got it. Now what do I do? Well, first thing is I can drop the parentheses over here. No need for that. Next thing, I'm going to add 4. Now, over there on the right, there's a lot going on. Over on the left, we've got x. Over on the right, we've got 4 plus or minus 3. Let me rewrite it up here. 4 plus or minus 3. There are 2 answers here. 4 plus 3 or 4 minus 3. So I get 7 or 1. That's kind of cool. Notice the 2 answers are both positive, which is kind of interesting. I didn't get the plus or minus because the plus or minus part was the 3. Do you want to check? Of course you do. You always want to check. I know you guys. You guys are like, check, 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 check. Okay, so let's check let's check. Let's check 7. I'll change that in post. Okay, let's check 7. 7 minus 4 inside a square root, inside a square is 3. Squared is 9. Yay. How about 1? Now, 1's kind of interesting because inside the parentheses, what happens? 1 minus 4, that gives us the negative 3. So do you see we come at the answer 2 different ways, from bigger than 4 and from smaller than 4. Bigger than 4 gives us positive 3 squared is 9. Smaller than 4 gives us negative 3 squared is 9. Woohoo! Okay, you guys ready for the big challenge? I know you are. Here's the big challenge. Dun, 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 dun. Okay. You might notice there's a lot going on here. And you might notice that I said, let's use the square root property, but you're like, well, here's the thing. And I'm not sure if this looks familiar, but I've got x squared and I've got 2 squared. In fact, it's negative 2 squared. And in the middle, I have a 2 and an x and a negative 2. So hopefully you remember what this is. This is a perfect square. Isn't that cool? Yay! Okay, so if I have a perfect square, I have x squared minus 4x plus 4, which equals 15. But this is secretly x minus 2, the quantity squared. And you can FOIL this out and check. But now I have to sigh deeply because over on the right-hand side, that's not a nice number to be taking a square root of. But we'll deal with that later. I'm going to square root the left. I'm going to square root the right. And you know who's going to show up? You guessed it, Godzilla. And Godzilla points out very gently, there should be a plus or minus right there. And you're right. Thank you so much, Godzilla. I love it when I get guest stars on this show. Okay, square root of something squared, cancel each other out. I get x minus 2 on the left. Over on the right, I get plus or minus 15 inside a square root. There's nothing we can do. That's just stuck. 15 is made up of 3 times 5, so not even bare math is going to work for this. It's just stuck. Okay, I'm going to add 2 to both sides, and I'm going to do it in a very particular way. I'm going to put the 2 in front of the plus or minus. And then someone is probably going to foolishly ask me, what are your 2 answers? And I'm going to say, you know what? 2 plus radical 15, 2 minus radical 15. What do you guys think? That's it. The things to remember: square root both sides when you can, remember the plus or minus, and remember that we're going to get two answers. So don't get confused and think they're both the same answer. There will usually be two answers. Woohoo, you guys did great. Next thing we're going to do, 9.2, is something kind of weird called completing the square. Most people don't think it's their favorite thing in the world, but maybe could be yours. Math on. Ooh, I don't know how to turn this off. We may have to. This may be the longest video ever. I could just sit here awkwardly. Okay, I'm bored.